Hey everyone, Cayna here. Today I'm bringing you another one of our BFA Mythic dungeon guides. These guides are supposed to be short, easy for you to understand, even if it's your first time in the dungeon and you're completing it on Heroic or Normal. Before I get into the video, I want to let you know there's a playlist in the description where you can find other guides of the series. Of course, please like the video, subscribe enabling notifications to know when we upload another one, and leave any feedback you might have about the series in the comments below. The first mob you're gonna run into in this dungeon is the Halberd. The Halberd only really has one mechanic, which is a big frontal cleave called Slobber Knocker. This goes towards the tank, it will knock you back and deal heavy amounts of damage, so make sure only the tank gets hit by this. Also, there's a lot of water around this place. Getting knocked into this water is extremely bad, as it will give you a debuff. After a couple of seconds, a shark will appear and one-shot you. If one of your party members ends up getting knocked into the water, make sure you give them some kind of water walking to get back on the land to prevent them from getting eaten. The next mob you will be running into will be the Wave Tender. These cast Brackish Bolt, which goes to a random target and does damage. You can interrupt these at 3. However, you want to save an interrupt for the most important cast, which is called Watertight Shell. It goes on a random mob, puts an Absorb Shield on them. When this Absorb Shield is damaged, it will explode for heavy damage and stun everyone in your group. Make sure that you either interrupt this or dispel it if it does go through. The Marksman casts Molten Slug. This can't be interrupted and does damage to random targets. Having too many of these can be very dangerous, as well as bolstering these can be extremely dangerous. You can use things like stuns and fears to prevent these casts from going through. As a healer, be very ready to spot heal certain people, as getting a couple of casts from multiple of the marksmen can be extremely dangerous. One of the mobs you will see during the boss encounter will be the Fang Guards. The Fang Guards are kinda like the Halberds, however they are a lot more dangerous in their way. They cast Heavy Slash, which again is a massive frontal, works the same way as the Halberd frontal, but instead of knocking you it does a massive stun and does a lot more damage. Make sure that the Fang Guards are faced away at any point to prevent your group of getting hit. After clearing the packs in the first room, you will run into the first boss, which is Sergeant Bainbridge. The Sergeant is surrounded by 2 adds. More of these adds will spawn over the time. You want to make sure that you stun and kill the Fang Guard pretty fast to avoid his frontal of ever hitting someone during the encounter, and killing the marksman will prevent a lot of random damage. You can also see CDs with things like Paralyze and Hex, so you're welcome to do that if you end up deciding. The boss casts Iron Gaze, which is a fixed hit on the random range player. The boss will gain speed over time, and when reaching the player will hit him for very heavy damage. When Iron Gaze ends, he will drag the player towards him, putting a silence on them, a slow, and dealing heavy damage. When you get close to the boss, if he's fixed on you, he will cause a massive AoE around him, like you saw right there, dealing very heavy damage to everyone caught. During the fixate, 3 bombs will spawn. The main part is that you will run the boss through these bombs, which will stop his fixate, and the boss will take a bit of a damage increase during this as well. These bombs have a timer. If the boss does not run through them, these bombs can explode on their own, dealing damage to your entire group instead of just to the boss. If you see one of these bombs go off, and the boss will not be able to get guided through it, run through the bomb yourself. This way, just you take the damage and not your entire group. The Irontide Raider is an extremely annoying mob to deal with, especially for a melee. He does 2 things. He casts Iron Hook, which will just drag in a random range and deal heavy single target damage. After that, he will cast Savage Tempest in melee, which is just a massive AoE pulse. This does so much damage that melees basically cannot hit the mob, so having ranged players for this mob is gonna be important to have. As you can see right now, I'm just unable to hit it at all. It's just not a fun mob to deal with. One of the more important mobs you will see more often in this dungeon is called the S-Wing Commander. He casts Trample. This will go to a random player. When you get hit by this, it will both stun you and deal very heavy damage, so make sure you avoid this at all costs. Other than that, he will cast Bolstering Shout. This basically puts some very massive damage reduction on all mobs around him. You can purge this off and Master Spell it off, also use the Blood of Racial to get rid of these. The Commander is always a priority because of this, so make sure that it's one of the first mobs you end up killing in every single pack. And if you want to AoE stuff down, you need to make sure that you have either a Blood Elf or a Master Spell ready. After clearing this little pack, you will go to this corridor, which is an RP event. Over here, these mobs will shoot at you and you're supposed to hide behind the boxes to get to them. However, with Sky Steps and Mounts, you can quickly get there. The spotter will put a debuff on someone, and then start spawning circles. This is a very important mechanic, as the spotter will kill his own marksmen with this. Make sure that you get all the mobs stacked up, stun them, and run the circles over the mobs in order to kill them. Do note that the spotter himself does not take damage from these, only his companions. After clearing some more non-important trash, you will run into the next boss, which is called Dread Captain Lockwood. This boss needs to be permanently slowed, as otherwise she will jump around throughout the entire platform. Having a slow on her will prevent her from doing this. Clear the deck is a frontal to the tank himself can dodge this. Very shortly into the fight, the boss will jump on the ship and spawn a cannoneer and 2 deckhands. You want to make sure that you kill the cannoneer in this, as it will drop his cannon, which people can pick up, shoot the boss off the ship and continue the fight. During this intermission, a lot of circles will spawn in the pattern, however there will always be gaps in these patterns as well. I recommend that you move to these gaps instantly, as these cannons will one-shot, and sometimes the patterns are kinda weird on how they exactly work. For example, they will shoot another platform. Other than this, the boss will just cast Shoot, which just is the random damage to the tank, and she will sometimes put some bleed debuffs on some people, which still have to be spot healed. The boss itself is very simple, straightforward. You just need to make sure that you play the intermissions nice and safe and do not get hit by cannons. Pre-assigning which person to slow will prevent the boss from ever jumping around and will make the fight a significant amount easier. The next couple of mobs we'll run into are the Bilge Rats. The Pillager will cast Vicious Slobber, which is a frontal. When you get hit by this frontal, you will take damage and get a poison debuff. Just make sure you don't stand in front, preferably as a tank. If you're DK or something, grip these in. The Buccaneers, they will cast Banana Rampage. This will 1 deal damage and 2 spawn bananas on the ground. Walking to these bananas will stun the player, so as a ranged, be in range. Having these spawn in melees will hit you extremely quickly. And other than that, these will stay on the ground, so make sure that you're aware where they are and do not run through them when you actually need to run. The Demolisher only has 2 mechanics, one being Crushing Slam. Crushing Slam again is a massive frontal. This one hits extremely hard, almost one-shotting a tank over here as you can see, so make sure you never get hit by this. Other than that, he casts Terrifying Roar. You can line of sight this, so without a shaman, you want to make sure that you tank this close to a wall, so you can run behind the wall, and then quickly get behind it in case he casts it. With a shaman, you can simply drop Tremor, however, and keep DPSing them up, which makes it a significant amount easier. The last mob you need to know about is the Tempest. The Tempest will cast Water Spray, which again is a frontal. Choking Waters is a debuff on someone, which has to be dispelled by your healer. And Revivalating Mist is a massive heal. This heal can also go on Demolishers, so pulling these Tempests with Demolishers, be very sure you interrupt the heal at all costs. The heal is the highest priority, Water Spray is the second highest, and Choking Waters is the lowest, as there's not many other dispels in these packs, so you should always have a dispel ready as a healer. After clearing a lot of trash and a lot of monkeys, you'll start running into the last couple of trash packs. In these trash packs, there's the mobs called Invaders. These are extremely scary for a tank, as they will apply a poison debuff to your tank, which is probably one of the hardest hitting debuffs in the game right now. You can stun this cast, however the cast is very short and it can't be interrupted by itself, so you need an extremely well timed stun in order to have this one go through. If you are a class that can dispel poisons, make sure that you dispel the tank on CD. As I mentioned, this is one of the hardest hitting debuffs in the game. The third boss, and probably one of the easier bosses, is Hadal Dark Phantom. This boss has very limited mechanics and is very likely to just be a big numbers check at higher Mythic plus. He hits the tank decently hard and only has a couple of mechanics, one being Break Water. Spawns a couple of puddles, do not stand in these at all costs, and when they explode, they will deal damage to your entire group. Other than that, he will cast Crashing Tide, which is just a massive tank frontal. Make sure you avoid this. At 100 energy, the boss will cast Tidal Surge. This will spawn waves, and you're supposed to dodge these behind the big statue. However, putting it up on personal just makes his ability not hit as hard, and you can simply tank it and maintain your boss DPS. Right now this boss is extremely simple, all I've said right now is basically all the mechanics. However, I feel like at higher levels of Tyrannical, this boss is very likely to be an extremely hard hitter, to the point that most mechanics will very likely one-shot you, and you actually have to start playing the boss properly. How you're supposed to do it is bait all the things away, dodge behind the statue for the wave, and the wave will clear all the puddles that you have made before. After killing Hadal, there is no more trash and you can run straight to the last boss, which is Fang Guards. Fang Guards is a pretty easy fight, and when the fight starts, we'll start giving people debuffs. There's always 2 debuffs going out, which means at some point your healer just can't keep up with dispelling. Also, dispelling this debuff will knock people around the player, so make sure that whenever you're gonna get dispelled, there's no one around you. The boss spawns on circles. Do not stand in these, as they will very likely one-shot you. The boss itself doesn't lose HP from attacks, and instead you have to shoot him 3 times with a cannon. The only way how to get these cannons to work is by killing the Gripping Terror, which is holding an engineer. After killing the gripping, the engineer will be released and will start repairing the cannon. After the cannon is repaired, the engineer will simply run away. There is also a Demolishing Terror. The Demolishing Terror has a lot less HP than the gripping, and these will spawn a lot more frequent. This means that you want to kill the first Demolishing Terror before the second one spawns, and you want to kill the second one before the third one spawns. As you can see right there, I quickly went into the cannon to shoot the boss, so we can move on to the next platform. The fight itself is pretty simple, but does require some proper execution, as it can become very scary at points. The best way how we found to do this at the end was simply we put 2 DPS on the gripping, and we put the tank and 1 DPS on the demolishing. They quickly kill the demolishing, and then the third DPS starts helping on the gripping. We kill the gripping, and the cannon starts getting repaired, and in the time that the cannon gets repaired, we kill the second demolishing. The main goal of this fight is to kill the first demolishing before the second one spawns, to make sure the tank doesn't get overrun, but still kill the gripping in a fast and reliable time, to make sure that you can start moving on to the platforms before there's too many debuffs and the group starts getting killed. Right now I jump into the cannon again, aim for the boss, shoot him, and run out. It's important to note that when you shoot a cannon, that the boss will try and destroy the cannon again, so make sure that you at any point after you shoot the cannon instantly get out and start running. At the last platform, you can choose to simply kill the gripping instantly. You do not actually need to kill the demolishing, just other for the fact then another demolishing will spawn. If you have someone that could off-tank the demolishing, just keep hitting the gripping and get in the cannon instantly after it's repaired. You can jump in even with 2 demolishers alive and quickly shoot the boss to kill it. Well guys, that rounds off this guide. Again, I'm Cayna. You can find all my socials in the video description, including my Twitch, which you're welcome to stop by at any point and ask me any questions. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit the like button, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching and have a great day.